gonna get on too.
Yeah. I hadn't.
Full side, one. You're good.
Okay. Do Karen first.
Good. Do I need to call that into action or we start?
So we do the call to order after the emergency.
Well, I know, but do I need to call it here and do I just say, hey, let's start this thing?
Let's get rolling.
All right.
Call to order then.
Who's gonna drive this ship?
Sure. So thank you for those who are in attendance. So the first phase here of the meeting is our emergency response plan hearing. This is an annual process that is conducted since the year 2000 when the SAVE legislation was passed, which among other things indicated that schools must review their district-wide school safety plan with any of their law enforcement partners and with any school staff, update the plan as necessary, and see that it is presented to the board and approved on an annual basis. So in deference to that law and the appropriateness of the process, we're here to review our district-wide school safety plan. So our plan is essentially split up into 3 different phases. The first is a preventative phase, which talks about all of the programs that we have in place to ensure that our buildings and any facility that our students are in are as secure as possible and safe, that our staff are trained to maintain the security and safety of those facilities, and that recurrent training occurs to assure that that is maintained. So within the first phase, the prevention phase, there's a variety of definitions that talk about the types of training we provide for our staff. There's also a risk management portion, which indicates any areas that we should be particularly cognizant of in the event of a security breach or any external threat to our facilities. The second phase has to do with how the district or building, depending on the scope of the problem, how we respond. And the entire system is predicated on incident command structure. So when they're district-wide instances, then as superintendent, I initiate initially as the incident commander for the district. If it's a building level, then one of the building principals, wherever this is taking place, will be the incident commander. And they may loop me into that. And then law enforcement is brought in based upon the severity of the circumstance and what concerns we have at the time. There's also an appendix to this with various definitions that talks about the different roles beyond the incident commander on the ground, including public information officer, things like that. So that everyone has clear roles in the event that there is a concern where we have to move the students or staff or cordon off a portion of our building or contact our parents with regards to an incident in real time. And then the final phase of our school safety plan is the recovery phase. And this has to do with in the event of any breach to our security or any trauma that may have occurred in our facilities or to our students, what do we do to support our staff and students after that has taken place? And we're fortunate in our district that we have a very robust mental health team that meets with fidelity on a weekly basis. And when there have been instances where trauma has occurred in our district or in our communities, our mental health team really kind of paves the way in communicating clearly with families, providing the right message, and also ensuring that the appropriate services are provided to anyone impacted by traumatic events if and when they do occur. So taken as a whole, this plan is about a 21 page guide for us, and it's our reference point in the event that something concerning does happen and we need to move the entire district apparatus at once so that everyone knows exactly what roles they should play and how to navigate through the phases themselves. Mr. Wood, anything to contextualize this plan further in terms of, the review from law enforcement and their feeling that the plan is still a best practice and things like
Yeah,
that?
we sent it out to our committee for their review and I don't think anyone responded. But there's been no material changes anyway at the state level. In terms of this, I think what it comes down to is what Tim was saying is, how do we respond? And as long as we have a program in place, a system in place, that's what the state police wants, is that we're following something in that regard. And we've been using a specific training plan for the last few years. That the staff review and new staff are mandated to go through as well, so that every year all of our staff are up to date on this type of safety.
In November, we have our emergency response drills, and it's an early release for students and staff. And we walk through the event specifically for an evacuation at both elementary school and the middle high school. So all told, we feel that the plan is representative of what law enforcement would want us to have in place. So solid plan. Any questions?
Do you ever involve any of the local fire departments, EMS, on those drill days? Because being a volunteer firefighter and being also a tactical operator at work, like, we can give ideas, help you out. You can say, we're going to do on the flip side of things, because all well and good that you're the IC, but when we show up, you're no longer the IC, you know what I mean? So I don't know if it's just one of those things where we might want to, on those drill days, or do a separate drill day.
Yeah.
Inviting the Lake Placid Fire Department, Animal Squad, PD, you have a lot of tactical agencies around that would be interested to help. And I'm definitely going to peruse this way more,
Good.
And give you some ideas, but
Excellent.
just an idea.
Yeah, no. The more eyes, the better, for sure.
What's the general acceptance and knowledge on the students' parts of this?
Sure.
Yeah, it's a big document. I'm sure they don't sit around reading it, but the reaction to this, is it just another document, or do they kind of embrace?
I don't know the extent that students would really even visualize it, to be completely honest. I think when it has to do with the students, we operate under our ALICE training. And so that is a program that promotes situational awareness in the event of an emergency. So, there's the options are to lock down. There's no chance of escaping. If you have the knowledge available to escape safely, then you do so. And if you find yourself unable to hide or depart, then and you're in danger's way, then the students are basically encouraged to fight their way out of that situation as well. So in terms of this, this primarily is more of organizationally how we communicate with law enforcement agencies and things like that in the event of an emergency, and then reunification and talking about with families. But the things that are included here are designed to give students some degree of insight into what they do in the event of an emergency. Does that answer your question, John?
Yeah.
And each building has a more detailed plan. This is what the public sees. And for obvious reasons, our detailed building plans are not public, but staff are aware of it. We do our annual, by state, by law, we have to go through a certain number of drills every year that cover the various scenarios within the plan as well. So students have familiarity at that level, and this clearly is a public document. But I think through, as Tim was saying, with the ALICE training, that is brought up and shown on an annual basis, so that students are familiar with that programming of response as well as the drills.
Okay, thank you.
This is a public hearing, so if anyone in attendance has any questions or comments, they're more than welcome to share those as well. Sarah?
I think Dana just answered it, but one of my questions was, this is kind of the overview or the checklist that's submitted up the chain. And just checking at the building level. plans are addressed annually as well.
Yeah, as we go,
Acting as
as we go through this, we also get the, each building to go through and update their plans as well. Staffing and names and things like that, and if there are any changes, the building level plans do get changed around the same time, so that's, really what the public sees is this public documents, but the building plans are also being updated and all that, so that they are, ready to go at the same time that this plan is being submitted.
And as you can see, this is the district plan.
Yeah.
These are the building plans.
Yes.
So they're very much more in depth.
And there is detail on the district plan about an offsite command center, but it didn't reference offsite destination.
Correct.
For students, not even that there might be.
Right.
And-
Yes.
And that, just double checking that that was on purpose and that it exists.
Yeah, this is meant to
and
be
it
general,
exists
right?
in, Building.
Yes.
Level plan.
That is-
Still maintained.
In situations like that, you don't ever want to give away your locations because
Absolutely.
if the public knows where we're gonna send the kids, then that's horrible. you
But
know?
the way this plan reads, that it doesn't read that's an option, which I was under the impression it is an option, and yes.
And it's probably
I
by-
have no
yeah.
interest
It is probably by design in terms of this
Okay.
document is showing, it's doing a broad overview of what districts need. And then the building ones are really getting down and looking at specific scenarios and how one should respond and things like that. On a more detailed and specific case by case scenario.
That's one I mean. I think I had one more weird question. Even though it's- Well, that's always a weird question. So you have appendices. And in appendix 2, you reference the buildings that are being addressed. And there's some potential hazards related to those buildings. And in the beginning of it, you mentioned the administrative building, but then in the body of where there might be hazards, you don't mention the administrative building. And I was curious if that was purposeful, or I just hate it when any of the district buildings get left out. Because you don't know where, I didn't know whether this was just student based. I got the impression that it was student, staff, district based. So at the beginning, all 4 buildings are listed,
Yep, I see that.
but then,
Appendix 1.
then and that's me being nitpicky, wondering if there's a reason for that, or I just hate it when they're left out.
I'm not sure that there's any intent to that.
Correct.
I think that would just be in addition to appendix 2 to include that
I-
facility too.
I would be more comfortable with all of locations.
And that appears to, I think there's some oversight, Sarah, so we'll make sure to make. the
Well, I think
addition.
sometimes when people are thinking student, they don't necessarily think that, but as I was looking at the plan, it looked like this was district staff and students.
Absolutely.
Yeah, plus there's no students to appear. And threats appear.
So we can add that for sure.
Yes, we are. The 7 or 8 of us. I think.
I'm sure anybody can take this, go to that place.
Take one of the-
So when we go to approve the plans later on in the meeting, we'll include as amended to her discussion.
Yeah.
Dan. Like when we do the consent agenda.
So pull consent.
We don't have to.
How
But
do
like,
we
I think when you say that, do the consent agenda, when you get to that part, you can say to include the recommended change to the safety plan.
So the meat and potatoes, the actual internal, external salt things, all that stuff, is that something that Any board member to do that?
Yeah, they're in executive content.
I just was wondering. It's
Yep,
been a crazy week since Sunday, so I'm just kind of check out.
yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Good catch.
Yes.
You want to be on our policy committee? We're always looking for members of the public who would like to serve in that way.
There you go, Sarah.
Oh, just saying. Feels like a calling to my hand. Not joking. Talk to Karen. She'll get choked up. All right. Any other questions or comments? All right, then we'll conclude the hearing. Next up is to call the meeting to order. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Flag
United
of
States
the United States of America,
Republic
republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hey, welcome everyone. Tried to adjust my glasses and they're not on my face. All right, first order of business is the consent agenda. Recommended action, approve the items below which are included in the consent agenda. 6A minutes, 8A sports merger approvals, 8C safety plan approval with the additional amendments as discussed. And 8D CEWW resolution for ESY and 8E AV reduction. Do I have a motion? Thank you, Ryan. Do I have a second?
Yes.
Colleen too. She beat you, Colleen, sorry. Like, is everyone will please vote? Or sorry, is there any discussion, omissions, removals, changes? If not, then vote.
Karen, I'm voting yes. My second computer just died, so
Okay,
I'm gonna get onto a different one, but I'll need a minute.
okay, so that's 6 yes and 1, and Ron's not here.
Gotcha. Thank you, everyone. Next, we will move to executive session. The recommended action, a motion to go into executive session for the purposes of discussing tenure recommendation. Do I have a motion? Thank you, Ryan. Do I have a second? Doug, thank you very much. All in favor? Aye, there we go.
Aye.
There's the voting thing. Excellent. We will enter executive session at 6:19. We'll let you guys know when we're out of executive session. Yeah. Why I left the shorts on.
Well,
I couldn't.
the shorts I was wearing on Sunday for the plane crash.